Morning, folks. Welcome back to the farm. We're shooting an episode in the tractor today. I haven't shot an episode in the tractor in quite some time, actually. Usually we do this when the weather's really shitty outside. In fact, today it's actually an absolutely gorgeous day outside, but I got to get in the tractor and go feed some hay here right away anyway. So since I had to be in here, I thought, why not shoot the video from the tractor? Anyways, today we're going to talk about economics of raising chickens in the winter. Yesterday in our video, I had mentioned our chickens have quit laying, right? They've come through the molt. They're now regrowing their feathers. We had some big temperature swings. The girls are like, nah, I think we're going to take a vacation. So we talked about conditioning. We talked about comfort. We talked about all that kind of stuff. But now we're going to get into what does it really cost to keep chickens and try and keep them laying, especially through the winter months. Now we live in northern Alberta in Canada. So, I mean, we get like for real winter. It's none of this like amateur hour winter. It's for real here, right? So now I'm going to use a couple like hard numbers, right? So again, I can only go off of what we have here with our average weather, with our average feed costs, with power bills, all that kind of stuff. So I'm going to use my numbers, but the formulas remain the same. And so you can take those numbers, apply your own numbers to it. The formula will still work and you can do your own kind of math in the background. So today we're going to use 24 chickens because that's what we currently have. And then we're going to use the desired output of 18 eggs a day. So that's not saying we're going to get, everybody's going to lay an egg a day because that's not always reasonable. We have chickens at varying stages of maturity. Some of them lay an egg every second day. Some of them lay an egg every third day. And that's fine, right? Everybody's flock is going to be different. We're going to say 24 chickens laying 18 eggs a day. Now, how much does a chicken eat? Well, whether it's laying or not laying, or whether it's summer or whether it's winter, it doesn't really, the chicken can only ingest so much, and it doesn't matter whether it's laying or not. It's still going to eat the same amount of food. It's still going to take money out of your wallet, whether it's giving you anything back or not. So chicken is going to eat approximately 1/4 pound of food a day. So for our 24 chickens, that's about 6 pounds of feed every single day. Now, the price of a 50 pound bag of chicken feed is approximately $20 or 40 cents a pound. Now, some people will be able to get that significantly lower. Some people will be able to pay that, or pay significantly more, right? I've seen some folks are paying like $12 a bag. Some are paying $16. Some are paying $30, $35. It all depends on whether you're getting like locally grown grains or you're getting some full formula chicken feed from, some uptown boutique feed store kind of thing. What we do here, we don't buy 50 pound bags. We'll buy a 2,000 pound tote. And that works out to about 30 cents a pound for us. But if we're to look at 50 pound bags, the local average right around here is about 40 cents a pound. Now, yesterday I mentioned supplementing at this time of year, coming out of the molt with sunflower seeds. So sunflower seeds are like 26% protein. They're high in vitamin E. They're high in fat. They are perfect for trying to get your chickens to lay eggs, especially in the wintertime, right? So say if you add 25% of your chicken feed is going to be sunflower seed. It's important to say that you're not necessarily adding it. You're substituting it, right? So for every pound of sunflower seed you're adding, that's a pound of chicken feed that you're having to take away, right? So, don't think it's an added cost. It's a supplemented cost, right? So 1.5 pounds of feed, or 25% of 6 pounds, right? They're about 50 cents a pound, right? So to substitute and supplement 1.5 pounds of sunflower seed daily is going to cost you an increased 10 cents a pound, or approximately 15 cents a day to add that sunflower seed to their feed. Now that's an important number. You're going to want to keep that in your pocket for later when you're thinking about what your total costs are and what, say, your overhead is, I guess, right? So then, okay, so that's feed supplement to increase protein, to increase vitamins, to increase fat content coming into the winter months. Now, what about supplemental light? There's a lot of conversations out there about supplemental light. Good rule of thumb is you want to shoot for 16 hours of light. Now, some people will just put a lamp on 24 hours a day. My experience has been that a lamp 24 hours a day will lead to grumpy chickens because they're tired, because they're confused about this. It throws their circadian rhythm completely out the window. So you want to shoot for, I mean, right now we're getting about 8.5 hours of natural daylight. We want to use that natural daylight. So now I need 8 more hours of supplemental light. So when's the best time to add that supplemental light? Well, we try and do it first thing in the morning. Now, we're not doing it right now because we generally give them those couple months to get through their molt and have their rest and relaxation period. But when it's time to go back to work, we're going to add that light in the morning. So at 3 o'clock in the morning, say, the light comes on, boom, it's daytime in the coop, right? Go to work. Now, imagine if that happened on the opposite end of the day and the timer went off at, I don't know, say like 9 o'clock at night. The chickens are out, yeah, doing chicken stuff, chicken yoga, whatever chickens do, shenanigans, right? All of a sudden, boom, light goes out. It's dark. They do this. Oh, they hide on the floor of the chicken coop. They're scared. They're nervous. That's conducive to stress inside the coop. It also makes them vulnerable to predators because they can't get up to a higher elevation. You want that natural decline of daylight through the evening so they'll come in, they'll roost, they'll go to a higher space, they'll be calm. That's just the natural order of things. Doesn't affect them as much in the morning, right? So add your supplemental light early on in the morning. The timer can kick off once it's already daylight outside, and everybody will be triple happy teddy bears. But what's the cost of all of that? So let's say you're going to run a 60-watt light bulb for 8 hours a day, and your cost of power, again, I can only go off what our cost of power currently is. It's currently 18 kilowatts per hour. Or 18 cents, per kilowatt hour, right? So 60 watts, that's 0.06 of a kilowatt, times 8 hours, times 18 cents is approximately 9 cents a day to run a light bulb in the coop for 8 hours a day. So again, keep that 9 cents in your pocket for later when you're thinking about your total cost. Now, we also talked yesterday about the comfort side of things, not just supplementing feed, not just talking about additional light, but also, are your chickens comfortable? So the acclimation piece, this time of year is really, really tough because the weather does this all the time, right? You get into January, February, it's been cold for a long time. You get a bit of a dip in the temperature. The chickens soak that up really, quite easily. However, this time of year, not so much. So maybe you're looking at things like heat lamps. Maybe you're looking at kerosene or electric space heaters, things like that. That all comes with a cost. So if you look at a 150 watt heat lamp as an example, well, 0.15 kilowatts times 24 hours a day times 18 cents, that's 65 cents a day it's going to cost you just to run that heat lamp inside your chicken coop. So if we up the ante and we say, okay, we're going to look at the spoiled chickens that get an actual heater, not just a heat lamp, but an actual heater. You run a 1500 watt heater, yeah, you could be looking at $6.50 a day, depending, of course, on the weather and how much it kicks on and off and the energy efficiency of your coop. But if that heater is running 24 hours a day, you could be looking at $6.50 a day, right? So that's an increase of $200 a month on your power bill, potentially. Suddenly, those free eggs you're getting, I mean, they're not even close to free, right? So if you're selling your eggs for $4 a dozen and your output from 24 chickens laying 18 eggs a day is going to be $6, right? So it costs you just to feed them, it costs you $2.55 a day, right? Or $1.70 a dozen is really what it works out to feed them the layer ration with some supplemental sunflower seeds. So that's your cost before. That's just to keep them alive, essentially, right? Just to feed them. And then, so say you add bedding costs, right? Because we use deep litter here, so we're constantly adding shavings. But some folks, I mean, they'll add shavings or add straw or whatever, and then they chuck it all out, right? Regardless, we're probably all adding the same amount. Ours just stacks up through the winter and composts and creates heat, and that's how we get away from doing things like heat lamps and space heaters, right? It's because we're actively composting in the chicken house. But anyways, the cost, it's about $20. What would it be? About $20 a month? Yeah, probably about that. So it works out to about 67 cents a day, or again, 44 cents per dozen. Now, if you're using a heat lamp, that's 65 cents a day. So that's another 43 cents a dozen. So that's really only, by the time you just feed them and you put bedding in and you put a heat lamp in there, that's only leaving you, if you're selling for $4 a dozen, $1.43 a day to soak up any, secondary and tertiary costs, such as, coop maintenance, your water system, any infrastructures, that you're amortizing, not to mention your time, not to mention the refrigerator where you're keeping all the eggs, right? All of these things are additional costs that, they're going to be unique to your operation. So an example about like a unique cost to your operation for us is water, right? We're rural water, so we're on a water well. You might think, well, largely, just because, it just comes out of the ground, right? It's just free. Well, no, there's an ongoing capital cost and an ongoing operational cost. So the capital cost is amortization, right? So to drill that well now is probably $17,000, right? I think we paid $15,000 when we originally drilled it. You have to think about the life of the well, how many years, divide that by the number of days, and then allocate a portion of that total cost to the chicken operation itself. And then, of course, there's subsequent percentages that go to the house, to the barn, to the corrals, things like that, where we've got individual waters, right? So every part of the operation owns a little piece of the pie. Now, the ongoing operational cost comes from, well, what does it cost us to shock chlorinate the well every year? What does it cost us to run the pump? What's the power cost, essentially, right? Just to keep the well operational. If we have any freezing issues with pipes and we have to do maintenance, that's an operational cost. It's going to be unique to your operation, right? So water for us is one of those unique costs that, you have to figure out, again, what's your burden cost before you can figure out how much you can sell your eggs for. Now, I've done previous videos. I did a couple of them last year, and I think some the year before, about the cost of a dozen eggs and what's the right price. And I always see this on the buy and sell, where somebody will put, farm fresh eggs, $2 a dozen. Well, at that point in time, the producer, we've just done the math, right? You've just seen it, right? $2.50 a day, $2.55 a day, sorry, just to feed them. So at $2 a dozen, what are you doing? You're going out and you're buying eggs and selling them to somebody else at a reduced price, right? So economically, that doesn't make any sense, right? You get into $4, okay, then you start, and if your operational cost and your capital costs come in line, then there's some room to kind of break even, that kind of thing. But you're certainly not gonna, you're not taking the family to Disneyland at the end of the year on whatever eggs you're producing, right? So then you got to think, okay, I got to price myself above that. Now, here's where a lot of chicken owners shoot themselves in the foot, is they look at what's the buy and sell market, what can the market tolerate, and they're looking at producers that are basically just selling themselves really, really short and saying that's the benchmark, and it's not, right? So collectively, as a group, as a community, we're forcing each other to slowly go bankrupt, right? So that's not effective. That's not efficient at all, right? So price your dozen eggs by whatever your expenditure, by whatever your overheads are. Think about what margin you need for your time, because your time is valuable, and make sure that you're not underselling your chickens, because eventually what you're going to do is cost yourself to death. And then suddenly one day you'll just be like, this is ridiculous. I'm just going to go to Walmart and I'm just going to buy my eggs, and it's going to be way cheaper. And you're going to lose all the advantages of having backyard chickens, working soil conservation, having a nutrient dense food source, all of these things, right? So anyways, I hope you found this video useful. If you did, please give it a like, please give it a share, tell your friends, come over, maybe subscribe to the channel. That would be awesome. But for now, like I said, I gotta get this tractor fired up, get out, feed some hay to the cows, to the sheep, and yeah, I gotta run some feed to the chickens too. So I'll let you go for now. Hope you have a fantastic day. We'll see you tomorrow.